I find it fascinating in that it's like a duck breeder family that go into biotech.
They created a subsidiary focusing on cell lines derived from ducks. The vaccine industry was looking for alternatives to embryonated chicken eggs because embryonated chicken eggs were used and are still used for production of many vaccines. A potential vaccine is considered by the market as a potential blockbuster indication. The outcome of this study will be quite transformational for the company.
There is a relative negative vaccine environment in the US. Will vaccines still succeed in this environment?
The current environment that we are seeing is, of course, alarming in many respects. I'm a strong believer in science will win. I also do believe that the current situation in the US may allow Europe to become stronger.
All right, great. Thank you for the intro. Welcome to an episode of the Flot.bio show. I'm the founder of Flot.bio, I'm Philip. And on this show, I'm interviewing the best Europeans in biotech to help people in the industry grow. So actually, who knows the show already? Thomas, you know it, but okay, half. Great. This episode is a bit special. Usually we record in a meeting room on a studio, but it's great to be here on stage. We did it last year in Stockholm as well, and it went well, so we did it again. And today we will talk about, I think, one of the best biotechs in Europe. I think it's true. Had some roots in Austria, actually here in Vienna. Has some roots in the other roots in France. Valneva is basically a specialty vaccine company. Has 3 products on the market. 700 employees, 400 of them are here in Vienna, and market cap around $800 million, which is very good. So I'm very excited to talk with Thomas here. Actually, it's the first time I meet him offline, but actually I've known Valneva for quite a bit. I actually visited the Vivalis office over 10 years ago, which is the former merger, which was pretty cool. So it's cool to have you. And just on the format, as we are live, I will open up to questions throughout the conversation. So we have a mic, someone with a mic. So if you have questions, feel free. Don't be shy. It's good to have a conversation to make it dynamic. So please give a round of applause for Thomas. Yeah. Go for it. Yeah. That's your mic. All right. Welcome to the stage. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Great to see you all.
I can see you have some familiar faces as well.
Yes, of course. I see a few familiar faces. It's great to be here. And it's great to be in my hometown.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So I want to start actually looking back at the story of Valneva, because I find it fascinating in quite a few ways. The whole, the Vivalis, that it's like a duck breeder family that go into biotech. It's quite amazing that you merged with a French company, a truly European company, and it was super successful. And that you launched three drugs on the market, which is also quite exceptional. So could you maybe start with giving me a quick overview of from inception to now, what were the significant milestones?
Very much so. Yeah. So Valneva, of course, we could write a book about it, but let's start a little bit with the history and how it all came about. It all started with the purpose. Because our mission is to develop, manufacture, and commercialize vaccines in areas of high unmet medical need. And we thought that with the vaccine industry undergoing huge consolidation, the big pharma companies left many vaccine indications untapped because they were either considered not big enough, not commercially attractive enough, but at the same time, we thought it would be good to work on indications that can really make a change to people's life.
Yeah.
That was the basic idea behind Valneva.
On both sides, Intercell and Vivalis.
Yeah, and when we then come back to the 2 roots of Valneva, You mentioned already the Austrian part, Intercell. Yeah. Intercell was the first Austrian public listed biotech. And in a way,
with a very nice IPO as well.
With a very nice IPO. And, Intercell kind of is still today considered, the grandma or grandpa of many Austrian biotechs. So
you just became grandpa. That's why.
a classical as a incubator. Intercell was focusing on a special class of vaccines at the time, and Vivalis actually worked on enabling technologies, but primarily enabling technologies in the field of vaccine development. You mentioned cell cultures. Yeah. Vivalis was originally owned by Groupe Grimaud. Yeah. Groupe Grimaud, a company, nothing to do with pharma, because they were leaders in animal genetic selection. And as such, they created a subsidiary focusing on cell lines derived from ducks, namely duck stem cell lines. And this was at a time where, the vaccine industry was looking for alternatives to embryonated chicken eggs, because embryonated chicken eggs were used and are still used, but were used for production of many vaccines. Yeah. So to change this against a permanent cell line was, of course, a great idea.
How much was it a stretch for the Grimaud? Because that's what a bit fascinating, because, doing duck, like the actual ducks versus vaccine is quite like...
Well, I would say for me, it was a natural step for a company and a family that has always shown and proven to be very entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
As such, to invest in a biotech arm was certainly a great idea and a major step. Now, both companies, Intercell and Vivalis, in 2011 and 12, experienced a few setbacks, and therefore, we were looking into, how can we rebuild something based on the strengths, and how can we rebuild something leaving also, setbacks and failures behind, and in a way reimagining what we may or may not do together. And the French angle provided a great opportunity for seed funding of Valneva. As you know, the first key investor was BPI France, the French bank that provided us with the seed funding for the company. And they helped giving birth. It was around 40 million euros at the time. And so we did a very complicated cross-border merger.
Which was quite a lot, because your market cap went down a lot.
Yeah, both companies were at about 100 million market cap at the time. So we did a cross-border merger. At the same time, capital injection from BPI France, who became the single largest shareholder. And by the way, they are still the single largest shareholder today.
Wow.
That's also why the company is incorporated in France.
In Lyon, right, the headquarters.
Yeah, so we have a registered office in France, but we have moved the operational headquarters to Vienna already a couple of years ago.
Okay.
So that was how Valneva was created. Since that time, the Valneva, as I said, focused on its mission. And its vision. And we had at the beginning decided to work on one disease area, namely vector-transmitted diseases. Vectors can be either mosquitoes, can be ticks. And as such, we brought the first vaccine to market. This was just prior to the formation of Valneva, namely a vaccine against Japanese encephalitis. And we then worked on, chikungunya as our second one. We also had a short intermezzo on COVID.
Cholera as well. Right?
Cholera we did not develop ourselves.
Yeah, okay.
We acquired in 2015 a cholera vaccine, which in some markets has also an LTE tech label from J&J.
Yeah.
And built on the back of that a commercial infrastructure. Because at the beginning we had no own commercial infrastructure. We were partnering with big pharmas to commercialize our travel vaccines.
Yeah.
And then, with the second travel vaccine after Japanese encephalitis, we were able to build our own commercial infrastructure, which we now have in North America. So Canada, US, UK, France, Benelux, Austria, all the key travel vaccine countries across the globe.
A lot of things I want to bump into, but the French headquarter thing is a bit a funny one, because I think some people think you're a French company, but actually, most of the employees are also in Vienna, and but you're still quite. You're basically quite European company, and even in terms of employee spread. So it's
I would say
you have a manufacturing in Scotland as well.
Yeah, as I said, the setup we have today is. We are a bit more than 700 employees.
Yeah.
We have about bit less than 100 in, call it, the commercial environment.
Yeah.
In all the different countries where we have our operations. We have 2 manufacturing sites, one in Scotland.
You don't outsource any manufacturing?
We have outsourced basically fill finish. So we are working in the fill finish area mainly with CMOs.
Yeah.
But all drug substance, so API manufacturing basically is in-house.
And you still use the cells?
Not, well, we are using them for some of the developmental products, but not for any of the commercial products, because unfortunately the environment around alternative cell lines changed quite drastically about 10 years ago. And that's why, for example, EB66, a cell line that originally came from Vivalis, is very well established in the vet vaccine industry.
Okay. Yeah.
There are many veterinary vaccines that use this cell line, but no human vaccines except...
for safety, or what's the reason?
No, because other cell lines just dominated the regulatory landscape.
Okay.
And became a standard of choice.
Yeah.
Virucells, and therefore there were only very few vaccines that used primarily in the vet space, but there were also pandemic influenza vaccines through GSK, for example, that use EB66.
Yeah. And one thing on the Grimaud, what I want to ask is, what I found also quite remarkable is that you merged, but you also were co-CEO with Frank Grimaud. For like a long time, basically.
No, we were not. We were never co-CEOs. No.
Okay.
So I think I was CEO from day one.
Okay.
But we had a structure whereby Frank was kind of number 2.
Yeah.
In the management team, but we operated always in close partnership.
Yeah.
And that's something that we did until earlier this year when Frank decided to leave.
Yeah. But that's quite unique, actually. With merger, it's a merger. So but usually in a merger, you always have one party dominating more, or often.
Look, mergers are a little bit like a marriage. It has to evolve over time, and I think we had a great relationship, and of course, things develop further. Things work out in ways that you have potentially not initially predicted it to be. But so we have been quite pleased about the evolution of all of it.
Yeah. And why did he leave, and why did the Grimaud family sell a lot of the shares?
Well, I think you should ask the Grimaud family.
They're not here, so
I would say Frank has been, a founder already of Vivalis.
Yeah.
And then, after more than 12 years,
I think in total 26 years.
He decided that he would still like to do something different.
Yeah.
And of course we accepted that. on Grimaud themselves, I mean, they have been supportive for many, many, many years, and they are still a key shareholder of Valneva. Also, they reduced their position.
Yeah. And talking about the products, I'm curious on if you can just talk about the economics and also how do you differentiate compared to existing products?
So let's start with commercial products. As I said, we are commercializing travel vaccines.
Yeah.
We have unique positions in that field. Our Japanese encephalitis vaccine is the only vaccine against Japanese encephalitis licensed in the main travel jurisdictions, US, Europe.
So you have almost
Canada.
like monopoly.
Yes. Then we have cholera. We have the only cholera vaccine that has also a secondary label against LT positive VTEC in most of the countries. And again, we are by far the leader in that field. We were then the first company in the world that licensed a vaccine against chikungunya, which is right now undergoing, many, market access processes and new licensure processes in different countries, especially in countries where the chikungunya virus is permanently endemic, like low, medium income countries, for example. So again, a key differentiator on chikungunya is also that we decided to work on a live attenuated vaccine that gives, after a single shot, a very long protection, a little bit like yellow fever, probably, more than 10 years. And then, as I mentioned, after the creation of Valneva, we focused on vector transmitted diseases. And of course, the big transformational readout for Valneva will be our Lyme vaccine. And so we will, in the next coming months, we will have a major, phase 3 readout.
Let's talk about that just after. On the chikungunya, I saw there's quite some bumps as well.
Well, I mean, life in our industry, and I'm sure that when you tour the stage here, everyone is going to talk about the famous biotech roller coaster, right? There is always an up and a down, and there was always 2 steps ahead, and then there is a step back. The important thing is that net, you just go ahead. And yeah, we had with chikungunya, we had a great success on the development side. We were able to develop an efficacious, good and safe vaccine.
Yeah.
We had a setback over the summer because the US FDA suspended the license. And for reasons that are still not entirely clear to us. But we are commercializing the vaccine. We are entering into new regulatory approvals. And it is a very good vaccine. And the next steps we have to see.
And how was it to deal with French politicians when the Réunion crisis happened?
So first of all, I mean, the French government has always been supportive of Valneva. It's probably not politically correct to talk about how easy the French government is compared to others. I like dealing with.
I'm half French, but what I observe that the French is typically quite top down. Even BPI France is very political. So usually when BPI France is invested, then it becomes quite political quite rapidly. And when it becomes a health issue, then you have a lot of ministry and etc. So that's what I'm asking basically.
Chikungunya is an emerging problem. Yeah. It's an emerging problem in all the islands under French control. And it is also becoming more and more an issue in Europe and in France. So therefore, we are addressing a growing and emerging medical need. The French government bought 40,000 doses earlier this year, and conducted a vaccination campaign on La Réunion.
Yeah.
It's
a beautiful island.
It is a beautiful island indeed. Yeah.
The Indian Ocean. I think a lot of people don't know actually that France has controlled the islands, but have territory quite a lot in around the world. And it's really nice. I mean, so really nice islands as well. I'm just on the chikungunya. I saw also, and I read an analyst report that another European vaccine company, Bavarian Nordic, has also basically a direct competitor, and that it's also performing pretty well. Like, how do you compete with them, or like how do you differentiate? How is the sales looking like?
Look, I'm not going to talk about sales of competitors, for sure not.
It's public data, I guess.
Exactly. You can certainly look it up. No, I would say we were the first ones to get marketing authorizations for a chikungunya vaccine. Bavarian came in second. We have two different technological approaches against the same disease.
Yeah.
We have a live attenuated approach, which is, as I said, targeting a vaccine that really allows protection, long-term protection after single shot, which is super important for countries where you cannot predict when the outbreak is going to come.
Okay.
Because you have rapid response, you have people protected. Bavarian's vaccine is an inactivated vaccine, VLP-based, different product profile, but addressing the same disease. And probably, the one or the other might be better or less good suited for, depending on target population, depending on the vaccination jurisdiction.
Yes. Okay. No, that sounds good. I will ask about the pipeline, and then I will open up for questions, so you can prepare already. On the pipeline, I think I talked to I think it was one of your, retail investor, but he told me that there was a lot of hope on the Zika, on the Lyme vaccine, because I think you had basically there's just nothing out there. It's a very high unmet medical need with also high budgets, I think, in terms of, let's say, on total addressable market, and the revenue can be also really high. Can you talk about, is it true?
So let's talk about Lyme. Is by far the most severe vector transmitted disease transmitted by ticks. And you know that all vector transmitted diseases are at a rise primarily because of global warming.
Yeah.
So the vector increases, or the vector prevalence increases, hence the disease increases. And apparently that's exactly where we are. When you look at how many people live in high-risk areas of Lyme disease, you have about 200 million people in Europe living in high-risk areas of Lyme. You have about 80 to 90 million people living in North America in high-risk areas of Lyme.
Wow.
And the medical manifestations of Lyme disease are awful.
Yeah.
When we started on a Lyme vaccine 12 years ago, there were, probably 5-6 different clinical manifestations known around Lyme disease. Today, there are more than a dozen, and, many of them very severe.
Yeah.
10 to 30% of people develop long-lasting symptoms.
Oh.
And 5 to 10% of people have persistent symptoms, even post antibiotic treatment.
And heavy antibiotic treatment.
And so therefore, a prophylactic solution against Lyme disease is definitely would be, from a health economical benefit perspective, ideal. This is also why a potential vaccine is considered by the market as a potential blockbuster indication.
Okay.
And therefore, as I mentioned at the beginning, therefore, of course, the outcome of this study will be quite transformational for the company.
So when is the readout again?
Well, we have partnered this program with Pfizer. We have co-developed together with Pfizer. Pfizer will do the entire regulatory process, later manufacturing and commercialization.
Yeah.
Pfizer just updated the readout guidance to first half 2026.
Okay.
So we hope, of course, in the earlier part of the first half, and but by the end of the day, I mean, we just completed the last readout of Lyme cases in this in a study that span over 3 tick seasons.
Yeah.
It is a study that a phase 3 study that was designed as a placebo-controlled field efficacy study, and with sites across Europe, Canada, and the United States. We have not only looked at the efficacy after priming, but also on the efficacy after booster.
Yeah.
Because this vaccine is likely, at least for the initial years, to require an annual booster shot. And of course now,
So more revenue.
fingers crossed for the outcome. And there will be, of course, a terrific outcome for society and for Valneva as well, and for its shareholders.
And as we are in a partnering conference and deal making, I have to ask also about the deal itself. I think it's a really nice deal. If I read, it's like, what was it, 130 million upfront, a lot of milestone, pretty high royalties. I found the 19% figure. I don't know if that's correct. There's equity as well from Pfizer investing. But I'm curious is why. So Pfizer has a global commercial rights. If you already have a commercial team, why didn't you keep some commercial? Right?
Yeah, it's a good question. So basically, we are commercializing today travel vaccines.
Yeah.
Travel vaccines are marked by distinct commercialization channels. You have distinct travel clinics. Your number of customers that you need to approach are very limited.
Yeah, okay.
A vaccine like a vaccine against Lyme disease requires a commercialization down to the general practitioner level.
Okay.
And this can only be achieved by very, very big, very sizable commercial infrastructures. And we are very glad that we were able to attract Pfizer.
Yeah.
And as you rightly pointed out, since we are at a conference where we talk also about deals, I think it's a fantastic small versus large company collaboration. Our collaboration has been, or has basically, you can look at it in 2 pillars. So, of course, we invested up to the first and including the first phase 2 study. Then Pfizer came in exchange of an upfront payment, basically.
And why didn't you try to go a bit further into the value creation?
Because we were in need of money. And we could not have afforded investing more than that.
Yeah.
So we basically then, with the upfront, entered into a co-development arrangement. So this means we worked really jointly in joint teams, but also shared the costs.
Yeah.
We shared all costs 40-60.
Okay.
So Valneva paid 40% of the development costs, Pfizer 60%, and then there are certain milestones that we're gonna get upon first commercialization.
Yeah.
And then later, all costs and all efforts will be carried by Pfizer, and Valneva will receive in between 14 to 22% royalties on sales.
A lot. Yeah.
And in a staggered way, depending on the sales levels.
Amazing. Questions from the audience now. I ask enough questions. If you can raise your hand, and I don't know where's the mic. There's the mic. If you can, some of you have a question. Don't be shy. Go for it. Yeah. And I have time for more questions. So if you can.
Thank you, Thomas, for your impressive presentation of the company. We followed Intercell from its beginning in Vienna. I'm also based in Vienna when the times were there, when Professor von Gabin and then further on Gerd Zettelmeisel, and then you yourself ran this company, and we are proud that Vienna has such a good and excellent vaccine company. And one question I have is that as there is a relative negative vaccine environment in the US, thinking of the administration, how do you think the future of vaccines are coming in the broad range? Will vaccines still succeed in this environment?
So, of course, it's an excellent topic. So, first of all, I would say the last 100+ years have validated and proven that there is no better health economical benefit, and no health intervention has prevented more lives than vaccination. And therefore, we as a company, me as an individual, I strongly believe that that vaccines can contribute to really making a change to people's life, and will always do, because it is cheap, it is efficacious, and it has definitely the best impact that you can have for vaccine preventable diseases, of course. And there are still many out there. Now, the current environment that we are seeing, which is US focused, because we don't see a similar situation in Europe, is of course alarming in many respects, because we see diseases coming back that were close to eradication, and they put pressure on the health economical system. They put pressure on the society, and they will cost lives at the end. And that's of course not nice, especially not for someone like me who has devoted his entire life to vaccines. But I'm a strong believer in science will win. And at a certain point in time, science will win again, and hopefully overcome political barriers and perception, and that's something that I think the entire vaccine industry is counting on. I also do believe that the current situation in the US may allow Europe to become stronger. I believe that Europe can play a pioneering role in novel and modern development approaches, regulatory pathways, and the shift may be for a certain number of years, especially on the development for novel vaccines and novel indications, more European-centric than it used to be a couple of years ago, where it was heavily dominated by the US. Yeah.
It's good. Very good question. And very good answer as well. Someone else has a question? Then I will continue. It's great. It's great, the conversation. I can ask whatever question and you're answering anything. It's really good. I hope it's not too harsh questions.
All good. All good.
All good. You are used to it. All the investment bankers, I guess. You're used to it. I want to go a bit into the financials, obviously you're publicly listed, so you have to be careful as well. But I just talked to one European, major European VC and growth fund, and when I told them we would talk, they were like, but the market cap must be it's not too easy at the moment, and I guess maybe it's very connected to the question as well, like. I guess you cannot comment too much on the stock, but how do you look at it a bit from a financial impact?
Well, I mean, look, so it's clear that a negative sentiment around vaccination, a negative sentiment around vaccine developments, companies, even for well-established vaccines in the market, reduced financial guidances because of less demand. This puts a certain pressure on the vaccine sector as a whole from a capital markets perspective.
I guess investors are worried, so they don't.
Well, I would say I would say some are probably a bit short-term worried, but most see this as an opportunity.
Okay.
Because because nothing is wrong with vaccines, even the opposite, as I mentioned earlier. So this means when the market gets a bit under pressure, and a sector gets a bit under pressure, and there's really a macro trend, this is a great opportunity to enter, right? And we see many big institutional funds that take the opportunity now to enter the space. And I believe that this is going to continue. This is the macro side of things. I would say when you look at Valneva, of course, we at Valneva, you see the normal kind of market reaction that you see ahead of a major catalyst.
Yeah.
I mean, Lyme is going to become or will be a major catalyst from a capital markets perspective.
Yeah.
So this means, this is a catalyst that can move the stock up by an X, but can also move it down by an X, right? And so that's why those kind of catalyst events are always creating a bit of volatility in the market. But by the end of the day, the trend goes up. We are close to 80% up year to date.
Yeah.
And I think that we'll probably see, again, a bit up and down until the Lyme data readout, and then hopefully up.
And you peaked at, COVID, I guess, was the peak. What was it? 3 billion market cap, the peak or something like this?
Yeah, we had, I'm not counting, for any company that worked on COVID and experienced this, what the capital market called the COVID bubble.
Yeah.
I'm not counting that as a relevant indication for an enterprise valuation, because, as I said, this was a bubble, not only for Valneva. The bubble was relatively small for Valneva. The bubble was much bigger for other companies. Yeah. But I would say, when you look at the fundamental value of the company, I think today we are trading at about 50% discount compared to the analyst consensus.
Okay, wow.
And that should be probably the more relevant indicator.
Yeah. Do you want to, on the financials still, I saw that you have really good performance in terms of revenues. I think your H1 compared to H1 last year, I think you increased revenues quite a lot, but your net results were also like not at balance or a bit negative. Like, how do you, what's not what happened, but what happened?
Look, I mean, so it is important to note that Valneva is a biotech company. Our key objective is to invest in research and development of novel vaccines that can contribute to a world in which no one dies or suffers from a vaccine-preventable disease. This is our vision.
Yeah.
This is our mission. It's our vision. Our mission is not to generate profits. And
You still need profits too. I love the products. No?
Well, I mean, look, we are very happy if we are able to invest more than what we earn, for as long as the market believes in this investment to be a better return over time.
Yeah.
And this is the business model that Valneva drives. Valneva is investing, this year in between 80 to 90 million euros in R&D.
That's a lot then.
Of course, we could decide tomorrow not to invest in R&D and be a profitable mid-sized company, but with what prospect?
Yeah.
And that's exactly why we believe that our biotech model is more than justified. And we have a great pipeline. We have not talked about Shigella, which is another, indication where Valneva could be in a pioneering role globally.
Yeah.
And we have a couple of other things that we are working on earlier stage, all, highly, highly differentiated. But our investment capacity in the future will depend on Lyme.
I like the long-term approach. I like it a lot. We have 5 minutes left, and I want to finish with a quick fire. So more quick questions, quick answer. And one of them was about the US vaccine, but we'll pass this one. It's a bit quick. What's the most common misconception that investors have about vaccines?
That vaccines are therapeutic.
When is the biotech winter going to end? What the biotech winter going to end?
Never.
One mistake you made in the past 3 months?
Probably not being optimistic enough with regards to the fact that science will win.
Talking about science, do you understand the anti-vax movement, not at the political level, but at the individual level, say in the US, or even in France, or in Europe, quite a few as well?
Yes, because it's made up by made-up communication.
Okay. Do you try to influence people? Or do you try to convince them? Because what I find super hard is that there's a lot of facts, but it's like talking. I tried a few times at least. It's really talking to a wall, and they refute it to a very it's not just the fact that they refute who provides the fact and who provided the provision, and they refute the whole science, and they refute basically everything. I don't know. What's your experience there?
I thought you wanted to ask short questions. No, but I would say I am trying to convince people about the benefit and the risk-benefit of vaccination every day in my life.
Okay. And how important is it that individual people who take vaccine, who are pro-vaccine, try to influence their own circles at the individual level?
They do a lot. It's very important, and they do a lot. And this has created some very, very positive results in the world of vaccines. But right now, again, you see also what negative miscommunication can do.
Yeah.
But by the end of the day, it's all about you cannot manage perception. You can only do transparent communication and fact-based communication, and that's all you can do.
Yeah. Okay. One of your biotech heroes or mentors?
I would say Jean Lance has been my key mentor. He was the long-lasting CEO for Chiron Corporation.
Okay. Where you worked before. Yeah. Can you tell a bit more on some examples of what some of the lessons you had with, or one lesson maybe, or one thing that struck you with him?
I think what I've learned from him, it's in our industry, it's all about resilience.
Good one. Last question. One advice to a 40-year-old Thomas.
To a 40-year-old Thomas, stay cool.
Amazing. Thanks, Thomas.
You're more than welcome.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm impressed by Valneva's determination over so many years to bring new vaccines to many patients. I'm also impressed by Thomas' honesty and openness, even if I was pushing him pretty hard. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the like, follow, review button. Any of these actions would help a lot more people discover the podcast. If you would like to support us even further, you can make a donation by clicking on the link in the description below. If you would like to see similar videos, please feel free to check out our channel, where we have many more. I would also be curious to hear what you think. So if you could leave a comment wherever you are, or shoot me an email at philip@flot.bio, philip@flot.bio. All right, thanks for staying to the end, and see you next episode.